Evening. You're tuned in to tonight's talk, and welcome. I want to start with something that might make people uncomfortable, but discomfort is where truth usually lives. If society could just behave, if people could just respect one another, we wouldn't be where we are right now. Because what we're watching play out every single day, online, in public, in politics, and families, isn't progress. It's not dialogue. It's not intelligence. It's a huge pissing contest. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it in the most primal, biological, stripped down sense possible. Everyone trying to dominate, everyone trying to be louder, everyone trying to prove they're right instead of trying to understand. And tonight, we're going to talk about why that is, what it says about human nature, and why, whether people like hearing this or not, discipline and respect are not optional if a society wants to function. Let's get something straight right out the gate. Human beings like to pretend we're fully evolved. We like to believe we're rational, thoughtful, and civilized. But strip away the technology, strip away the social rules, strip away the comfort, and what you're left with is something very old, something primal, dominance, status, territory, hierarchy. That's not an insult. That's biology. And here's the problem. We've advanced technologically faster than we've advanced emotionally. So now we have primitive instincts operating inside modern systems. That's why disagreements don't stay disagreements anymore. They become battles. You're not just disagreeing with someone's idea, you're threatening their identity. And when identity feels threatened, the brain doesn't respond with logic, it responds with aggression. That's why conversations turn hostile so fast. That's why people interrupt, insult, dismiss, and degrade. Because the goal is no longer understanding, the goal is winning. Most people don't want truth, they want validation. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Ego tells people if I'm wrong, I'm weak. If I listen, I lose. If I don't assert dominance, I'm beneath you. So instead of exchanging ideas, people posture. They posture up. They raise their voices. They exaggerate certainty. They cling to beliefs even when evidence contradicts them. Why? Because the ego would rather be wrong and powerful than right and humbled. This is why society feels like a contest. Not because people care too much, but because they care about themselves more than the collective outcome. And the irony? The louder someone is, the less secure they usually are. True confidence doesn't need to dominate. True intelligence doesn't need to be little. True strength doesn't need to prove itself constantly. Respect is not agreement. This is where modern society gets it dangerously wrong. Somehow, we've convinced ourselves that respecting someone's means endorsing their views. That is false. Respect doesn't mean agreement. Respect means restraint. It means I hear you, I acknowledge you, I don't need to destroy you to feel validated. A society that cannot tolerate disagreement without hostility is not advanced, it's fragile. If your beliefs collapse the moment someone questions them, the problem isn't the question, it's the foundation. Respectful disagreement is not weakness, it is the baseline required of coexistence. Without it, freedom turns into chaos, and chaos always invites control. Now, here's the part people really don't like hearing. When people say society needs a big brother, what they're really saying is this: people are not regulating themselves. Children require discipline, not because they're evil, but because they're underdeveloped. And emotionally, a lot of adults are still operating at that level. Discipline is not oppression. Discipline is structure. Discipline is boundaries. Discipline is accountability. A society that refuses self discipline will always end up with external discipline imposed upon it. That's not politics, that's history. Freedom without restraint does not last, it collapses under its own excess. And the refusal to behave responsibly is often what gives institutions justification to tighten control. Maturity as a social skill. Maturity isn't about age, it's about regulation. A mature individual can pause before reacting, listen without attacking, disagree without dehumanization. A mature society's values civility over dominance, understanding over humiliation, discipline over impulse. Progress doesn't come from loud arguments, it comes from better ones. Better arguments require humility. If society feels like a never ending contest, it's because too many people are still operating from primal instincts in a world that demands cooperation. Respect is not weakness, restraint is not submission, discipline is not tyranny. They are the foundations of any society that intends to survive its own freedom. And until people learn that controlling themselves is more powerful than controlling others, the contest continues. I want to thank you for listening in. This is Dynamic Nomadic Diaries, where we help for a better life and a future for coexistence. I'm your host. I hope you have a wonderful evening, night, day, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in.